G'day Barry, how you doing? I wanted to record you a quick video today to kind of debug the myth around systems and processes and flowcharts. I remember when I first started in business, a lot of people were sharing with me that I needed to systemize my business. I needed to create processes and procedures and flowcharts so that my business would operate well. And it all got a little bit confusing and stressful, and especially for me, being a true entrepreneur at heart, I was very much a visionary, very much about the opportunities, very much around the sales, and thinking about like writing detailed steps out or trying to work out how I was doing what I was doing naturally and unconsciously I couldn't think of anything worse. And so I want to first of all debug the myth between what all these different words, buzzwords are, or what I believe that they are and what we share with our clients they are, and also to like the interplay of how they work together. So first and foremost, let's talk about process. Like a process is essentially a flowchart. A process is a step-by-step of how you get from A to B. So a perfect example of that might be how do we take a prospect from a prospect into becoming a client? What are the steps that a prospect must go through from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to get from A to C? How do we get them from being a prospect to being a client, and the steps in place? That's what I'd say is a process. And we would map that out as like a flowchart, almost like a bunch of small boxes with arrows or lines or dashes in between. There might be some decision-making points along the way, like does this person meet criteria, yes or no? If it's no, what happens? If it's a yes, what happens? Systems are more what I'd say is how-tos. So if we look at each of those boxes, if we talk about step number 1, prospect subscribes to our email list, might be the first step of that process. So we would have a system or a how-to. Well, how do they subscribe to this process? How do they subscribe to that? Step number 2, prospect meets criteria. Yes, no. Well, what's our criteria? That would be a system. That would be a how-to to let us know whether or not they meet that criteria. So process is like more so the journey. System is more so the guiding steps in between the journey to know what the steps look like before you can proceed to the next step. So I hope that's kind of cleared up. Procedures are more so around like standards of a business. So we might have a safe operating procedure around dealing with a power saw in our business. It's not, we don't need to know how to use the power saw, but we need to know safe practices about the power saw. I trust that makes sense. If any of that's unclear, I'd love you to comment or let me know, and I could provide further clarification on that. The next thing that I would kind of share is often what holds businesses back is unclear systems and processes. Is that as you grow and as you scale, there's 2 things that I notice happens. Number 1 is business owners try to implement processes and systems too soon. And typically what I'd say is that if your business right now is under $500,000, you shouldn't be spending your time focusing on putting in processes or systems other than sales and marketing processes and systems, because that's where 80% of your effort should be, is building a sustainable marketing and sales system to grow your business to the next level. After the $500,000 mark, that's when you start to focus on operational processes and systems. How do you deliver your product? How do you hire staff? How do you train staff? How do you retain staff? How do you run your meeting structures? All those other processes and systems, because by that stage you're starting to onboard team. It becomes more and more imperative to deliver your services accurately and on time. And you know that your leads and sales continue to flow in because you've already documented that part of the journey. And so the biggest challenge that I see is people try to implement processes and systems too soon, and it stagnates their growth. They get bogged down, they forget to focus on sales and marketing, and things slow down. The second part is really unclear process systems. Like they have a couple of line on, do this, do this, do this. Sorry, do this, do this, do this, as opposed to having detailed step-by-steps. Like in our company, we have 8 core processes or flowcharts, and I believe that every business, regardless of what they are, will have a maximum of 4 to 9 of these core processes. It might be, opportunities to sales. It might be, sales to delivery. It might be cash collection. It might be onboarding, hiring, training, retaining of staff. So every single business I've ever worked with has 4 to 9 of these flowcharts that have a series of steps and systems. But each step needs to be a documented system. What is the system? Why is it important? Who's accountable for delivering the end goal. There should be a KPI that lets you know whether or not you've delivered this system, this how to accurately, and then step by step of how to do it. And we always start our systems with a video. It's always an overview video, whether it's a video like me talking to you here, whether it's a video recorded on screen share software. But there's always, first of all, a video that someone can watch, and then the video is always followed with step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. So they're the two things that I see. Number 1 is trying to systemize at the wrong time can hold your business back. Number 2, not having clear enough systems and processes. And a bonus is that if you're like me and you find that you much rather play around in the bigger picture stuff, in that marketing, sales, that creative side of things, but you know that systems will set you free and you need to spend the time to create them, what I recommend is that there's only really one system that you create, and you create the system for writing systems, and then you allow your team to build the systems as you hire them. You hire a team member, you teach them how to do something, you teach them how to build a system off the system for writing systems document you've done, and then they can go and systemize their role and everything you share with them. And all you need to do is check over once they've created it and make sure that it works, make sure that it's right, make sure there's no steps missing. So that's how I was able to systemize my business. We now have a few hundred systems that all underpin of those 8 core processes or flowcharts, and 90% of those systems were created by my team. So hope that's been of value to you. Go forth, create systems, because they will set you free. My name's Barry, CEO and founder of the Game Changers. If we can help you to systemize your business, get your time, fulfillment and freedom back, please reach out, let us know. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.